Commission resumes. Mr. Mokwena, you're still under oath. Ms. Barnes.
Mr. Mokwena, you refer in your supplementary statement to a meeting that was held between AMCU and certain employees of Lonmin on Monday, the 13th of August, 2012. You weren't at that meeting, correct?
That is correct.
I just need to draw your attention to what purports to be the minute of that meeting, which you've included in your bundle at page 16 and 17. And you were presumably handed this minute at some stage. Were you informed that this was in fact the minute of that meeting that had taken place?
Yes.
Because I must just tell you that we have already established in this commission that there are some quite serious errors and inaccuracies in this minute, and I just need to tell you what those are. The first is that the minute refers to Mr. Matunjwa as having been present at the meeting when he was in fact not present. Mr. Da Costa conceded in his evidence that he was mistaken and that Mr. Matunjwa had not. Well, Mr. Da Costa was at this meeting, but he confirmed that Mr. Matunjwa was in fact not. You see that?
Yes.
Then, if we go to the next page of the minute, second page of the minute. It's recorded there under management. It says, the first bullet under management, AMCU should denounce violence, and it just stops there. Now, Mr. Da Costa testified in the commission that AMCU did in fact denounce violence in that meeting. You accept that? Well, you must accept it because you weren't at the meeting.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Putting to you, it'll become clear in a little while why I'm putting this to you.
It's fine.
The third problem with the minute, perhaps the most serious problem, is the last bullet under AMCU, where it says the employees at the Corpi demand that the company increase the pay of all employees to 12,500. The employees will return to work the following day if the increase is given. Now, it just stops there. Now, Mr. Da Costa confirmed that what in fact happened in the meeting was that AMCU was specifically asked whether they were tabling that demand on behalf of the strikers, and they said no, they were not. Mr. Da Costa was there. He confirmed that happened. That's not recorded in the minute. You see that?
Can you rephrase yourself again?
You can read the last bullet for yourself, and then Mr. Da Costa said that AMCU was asked in the meeting whether they were tabling that demand on behalf of the strikers, and they said no, they were not. So that's what happened at the meeting. That was never communicated to you, was it?
No.
Then the other thing that I must draw your attention to is a media statement that was released by AMCU on the 14th of August 2012. It's not in your bundle. It's Exhibit 002. If we could have that on the screen, please. Have you seen this media statement before? I take it you have?
Yes.
And you'll agree with me that in that statement, firstly, AMCU denounced violence. You agree?
Well, that's not on the screen at the moment, but I take it it's there. Let's just see that.
Yes, it's in the second paragraph.
Yes, as AMCU, we condemn these killings with the strongest terms deserved. We do not believe that any form of violence can bring about changes in the workplace, nor it can benefit anyone. May their souls rest in peace. So there is a public denunciation of violence.
And then, Mr. Mokwena, what we don't see in the statement is any statement by AMCU that they are tabling the demand for 12,500 on behalf of the strikers. You accept that?
Yes.
Let's look at the paragraph that begins, now let me deal with the issue of Lonmin workers' demand. That's, the topic is dealt with there. It goes on Let me deal with the issue of Lonmin workers' demands. During the mid-July, we received a telephone call from middle management of Lonmin Platinum, stated they got rumours that RDOs were planning to make salary adjustments to demands on their own. We immediately advised management not to set precedents by taking means a precedent, by trying to entertain these individual demands, but urged management to be proactive and coordinate an urgent meeting with all recognised unions so these issues will be dealt with speedily to avoid similar situations as it happened at Impala Platinum.
Yes, and then if we could also focus on the third paragraph on that page. If we could scroll down, please, to the third paragraph. It says, AMCU has got nothing to do with neither the killings nor is it behind the demands by the RDOs. We have got nothing to do with the demands. However, since the demands are there, it is our belief that parties should constructively engage on them and find a common ground in order for the mine to resume its operation. See that?
Yes.
The press statement that you said contained a lie or lies in the debate on the morning of the 15th on the radio in the forum at 8, where you accused Mr. Matunja of having lied to the people of South Africa. You said in answer to a question I asked you, you didn't say he'd lied on the radio program, but you said that AMCU had lied in press statements. Is this the press statement to which you're referring? Or one of the press statements to which you were referring?
Chair, allow me to scan through my... Yes, Chair, I would probably have been referring to comments in the media because I didn't have first-hand copy of this. I would have reacted to what was reported coming out of this press statement at that time. In other words, I did not receive this, and I would have relied on what then got reported.
You were referring to a press report about this press statement?
Yes, because I did not receive this press statement live personally.
Now, I think it's a very serious allegation to make on a public broadcaster, and it might have been prudent to have made sure of your facts before you said what you said. But is there anything in the actual text of the press statement which you can say was a lie or twisting of the truth by Mr. Matunja?
No, Chair, and I will withdraw that. As I said, I had based my assessment on media reports. I apologize to Joseph for saying that.
This is the first time, after all this time, that you've now publicly withdrawn the serious allegation you made against Mr. Matunja. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Based on misinformation. When did you become aware of the fact that there was this misinformation upon which you'd based this very serious allegation?
Yeah, I became aware of in the documents that I was going through with my lawyers. I, at that time, did not have access to this press statement.
Mr. Mokwena, in your supplementary, perhaps if I can just orientate us, we've looked at the minute of the meeting that Lonmin held with AMCU on the 13th of August, and I've explained to you what the errors in that, or the inaccuracies in that minute. We've also now looked at the press statement, and we know what it says and what it doesn't say. Mr. Mokwena, that was also the only press statement that was issued by AMCU during the week of the 9th to the 16th of August. There was no other press statement. But now I'm going to take you to your supplementary affidavit, supplementary statement, page 191, where you refer to a recording that you say Mr. Kwadi took of a conversation that took place between himself and Mr. Nkalachana. You recall that? Mr. Mokwena, are you with me?
I am with you. I'm following you.
Now, you say in your I take it Mr. Kwadi told you what was on this recording, and you haven't actually heard the recording yourself. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The recording's never been made available to you, and you've never heard it yourself.
That is correct.
And what Mr. Kwadi reported to you, if you look at paragraph 18 of your supplementary statement, he says that Kwadi told me that during this conversation, Mr. Nkalekchana tells him that UMCU officials had been to the Kopi on the 13th of August 2012 and had a clear instruction from the strikers that Lonmin will remain ungovernable unless it agrees to the strikers' wage demands. Now, as I read that, what Mr. Kwadi is saying is that he's told by Mr. Nkalekchana what the strikers had told him. Is that correct?
That is
also
correct.
your understanding?
Yes.
There's no allegation there. You don't make an allegation in terms that Mr. Nkalekchana purports to be acting on behalf of the strikers, do you? That's not what it says.
Yes. However, Chair, what confused me at the time was I'd always known that the striking workers did not want any union. And we know what happened the following week when both Mr. Matunjo and Mr. Zokwana went to the Kopi. What I didn't understand, and may have been my naivety, was how could any union have been allowed at the Kopi when the workers had said they don't want any union, and subsequent to that, in the correspondence in the conversation Joseph had with Jomo, that suddenly UMCU had the demand of the workers from the Kopi. So I was just confused. And when you ask me they, was it a reference to the workers themselves or the leadership of UMCU? I concluded it was both.
But you don't know because you didn't hear the recording, correct?
Yeah, as I said, it was my interpretation based on circumstances, and it may be wrong.
In fact, it is wrong. Let's look at what you told General Mbombo. If we can go to the transcript of the meeting that you had with her on the afternoon of the 14th of August 2012, that's page 20 of your bundle. Okay, so if we could start at, the lines aren't numbered here, but you're speaking in the middle of the page. It's page 21 of your bundle, page 2 of the actual transcript. You say, because it's very clear UMCU is behind it, very clear. In fact, we have a recording that we want to play for you. This is the recording that you've never heard and that none of us have ever seen. It's never been made available to the Commission, correct?
That is correct.
Then you then go on to say they've actually been to the mountain, they have spoken to the people, and they are issuing statements that they have made, and they have presented demands to management for 12,500 rand. That's what you say to General Mbombo. Now I'd like you to tell us where you get the information or the evidence from that UMCU presented demands to management for 12,500 rand.
Well, that was the content of that conversation between Dumisani and Jomo, that they had been to the Kopi, and that's what the workers said.
The recording of that conversation.
Yes, the recording, Mr. Jomo Kwadi had said he had recorded that.
Do you know whether that recording has been made available by Lonmin's legal representatives to the Commission?
If they asked, Chair, I'm sure.
No. Do you know whether they made it available? Never mind, they were asked.
No, I'm not aware.
No, neither am I.
I can say to you, we don't have that recording. We don't have that recording.
Don't have it. Okay.
Do you know if such a recording is in fact available?
I think Mr. Jomo Kwadi would be the only one to tell, because I never physically saw the recording or listened to the recording. He was giving me and Mojela telling us about that recording. Yes.
And of course, but you've of course just confirmed that you made assumptions because you hadn't yourself heard the recording.
Yes.
But when you're talking to General Mbombo here, you're relying purely on the recording. Is that right?
Yes.
So you accept that there was no basis for you to say to General Mbombo that AMCU had presented a demand of 12,500 rand to Lonmin management?
Well, at that time, Chair, I trusted that Jomo would not have said such a thing to me as a senior. So I took it that he was telling me the truth. And so I relied on what he told me.
No, but Mr. Mokwena, that's not even clear. In your supplementary affidavit, it's not even clear that Jomo is saying that AMCU is acting on behalf of the strikers. That's not even clear. On your own affidavit, that's not clear.
So what is the question, Chair?
Question more clearly, Ms. Bond. But do I understand, Mr. Pam, that you're conceding now on behalf of Lonmin that there's no such recording in existence? I didn't understand you to go that far.
I'm saying to you, we haven't seen or heard the recording.
Is it possible then for you perhaps to take instructions from Mr. Kwali? I take it the evidence leaders can, if necessary, send an interrogatory to Lonmin, ascertain precisely if there was such a recording, where it is, and for it to be made available if it exists.
I will take the instruction.
Isn't it correct to say, Mr. Mokwena, that without you being satisfied from your own direct knowledge that of what you say here, that there was no basis to say it to General Mbombo?
Well, upon reflection 2 years down the line, that afternoon when Jomo told us, I had no reason to doubt that he would have fabricated that. So I trusted him. Now that you say, if there's no such a tape, obviously I need to say, well, it was a bad judgment on myself. But at that time, when he came to me as a senior manager and said, I've got this, I believed him.
Are you now prepared to retract that statement?
Yes, I'm prepared to retract it.
There's another reference that I must take you to in that same meeting with General Mbombo. It's on page 23 of your supplementary statement, page 4 of the transcript. And here you say, if we could go towards the end of that paragraph, you say, we have rejected quite a number of positions and people indirectly trying to start negotiating. AMCU, you will notice their press statements. So they are throwing stuff into the media to say, oh, we've asked management to give everybody 12,000, well, there you say 12,000 rand. Now the media are going to say, but management, you must talk to AMCU. So there again, you are saying to General Mbombo that it is AMCU that is demanding the 12,500 on behalf of the workers, and that that's evident from their press statements. Now, we know that that's not correct. We've just been to the press statement, the only one that AMCU released in that week. Are you prepared to retract that as well, Mr. Mokwena?
Yes, Chair.
Did you say on page 4 of this document, page 23 of your bundle, is you will notice, if the fourth line from the foot of the page, you will notice their press statements. So they are throwing stuff into the media to say, oh, we've asked management to give everybody 12,000. Now the media are going to say, but management, then you must talk to AMCU. Do I understand you to say that you made that statement to General Mbombo without personally having seen any press statements that AMCU had issued?
Yes, Chair.
And you made the statement to General Mbombo for what reason?
At that time, Chair, I was trying to make sense of what was going on and the different parties. And as I said earlier, I had, honestly speaking, had expected us with NAM and AMCU to be a joint force in condemning what was going on. And I just felt that I was not in sync with AMCU. And I may not have a particular incident. I just felt that the way they approached the matter, the way they were discussing the matter with us, there was more to it than what they were saying. Particularly the Friday letter, because that was for me the beginning of AMCU entering this conflict. And I just, my gut feeling, Chair, was there was something not kosher with their approach, that they were not chased from the copy. What happened to the sinister forces? It didn't make sense to me.
Yes, I was interested in what you were trying, why you said this to General Mbomba. Now, I must tell you, I get the impression, and I'd like your comment on it, from the line, it's 6 and 7 on this page 23 of the bundle, page 4 of the exhibit, that you actually wanted General Mbomba to get the police to arrest some of the strikers. So if we ask what our plans are, if you ask what our plans are, we await your team to guide us and say, we have arrested people, we've done this. Then we will develop action plans following resolving the problem of security. And you go on about that. It's no longer an HR issue, it's a security issue. Well, it obviously was a security issue by that time. So, but the point is, why do you make these statements to the General, which we now know are incorrect, because they weren't such media statements issued by AMCU. Why did you make them? What were you trying to get her to do? Am I correct in thinking that you were trying, this was a prima facie view, obviously, that you were trying to get the General to agree that the police would arrest the leaders of the strike?
My main preoccupation with my conversation with the General was arresting people after the murder. That was my biggest preoccupation. I had absolutely no intention at no stage to have any union leader arrested. My main preoccupation was the week was proceeding, a number of people had died, and I was making an appeal that unless arrests are made, this may just continue.
The point then of saying, incorrectly as it turned out, that AMCU are making press statements, throwing stuff into the media, to use your language, saying we've asked management to give everyone 12,000. What was the point of making that statement to General Mbomba? How did that take your discussion an inch further? I suppose I should say a centimetre.
Chair, the context of this recorded conversation was not a formal meeting where we're discussing points by points. It was a very casual talk standing outside, and one may have uttered statements that, looking back, you may say, why did I say this? It was not a formal meeting with the General planning item by item, discussing issues and all that. It was an informal meeting, standing outside. And yes, when I look back, Chair, one, if I had known that there was a recording going on, I would not have uttered these things. And the way it was done, I was not even aware that I was being recorded. So I do apologize for some of the statements, but they were not issued by me for any other reason than I'm talking to the General outside and the tape picked up on our conversation.
But they were presumably speaking to her in order to persuade her to share a view which you held and to persuade her to get the police to take action. And whether you said that outside the building or inside the building, would it have made any difference?
Yes, Chair. I have, in other occasions that are not recorded, where we made the plea for people to be arrested. And as I said, I was just getting worried that we are not receiving any reports on any arrest.
What were you worried about? There were, I think, over 800 policemen there at the time, were there not?
Yes.
And as far as, apart from the death of Mr. Twala, which I'm not sure if it had taken place yet, but there was the necessary police presence which was at least have discouraged further violence. Bringing the strike to an end, of course, was another matter. I suppose disarming the people who had dangerous weapons was also an important aspect as well. But what exactly? Why were you talking to her? What were you trying to persuade her to agree to a course of action?
Not at all, Chair. When I look back and reflect on that informal chat with her, if I had other means to either formally write to the police and state in a formal way, and I regarded this as a very informal conversation with the General. I had absolutely no intention to influence her.
Page 21, halfway down the page, our priority is we want people arrested, okay? Because it's very clear AMCU's behind it. Very clear, in actual fact. We have a recording we want to play for you. We now know that the indications are that the recording doesn't exist. At the foot of the page, that's why it's very important for us that we want to see somebody arrested so the message gets across that the 9 people were killed, somebody was arrested. Secondly, we believe, honestly speaking, with our poor intelligence, it's very, very clear AMCU leaders are behind that. And if they do not get arrested, that's AMCU leaders don't get arrested, and we do paperwork afterwards, you know, the people who gather at that mountain will still believe their leaders are doing this. Now, a very serious allegation. It's very clear AMCU leaders are behind that. And if they do not get arrested, is that not an attempt to persuade General Mbombo to get the police to arrest the AMCU leaders? Is that not what the words mean?
Yes, Chair, it does mean that. And this is a follow-up to the conversation I had with legal fraternity, that I based this on what Jomo had told me about Dumisani had said to him, Lonmin will be made ungovernable. And knowing Dumisani at the time was the national organizer of AMCU. So that's a follow-up to what Jomo had told me about the tapes. And there's no other reference other than that tape.
Is Mr. Kwadi here today?
Yes, he is.
Will you both find out during the lunch hour from him where the tape recording is, if it ever existed?
I will, Chair.
Yeah. Perhaps you could ask him, or possibly better, I suppose, if the legal representatives did. I suppose it's better not that you talk to people about matters you're under cross-examination about, while you're still under cross-examination. But I'm sure the legal representatives of Lonmin will be able to interview Mr. Kwadi and ascertain the information that I've requested. Yes, thank you. So I'm sorry to interrupt your cross-examination, Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mokwena, if I can take you to another aspect of your conversation with General Mbombo. It's page 31 of the transcript, at the bottom of the page. The Provincial Commissioner says, hence, I just told these guys that we need to act such that we kill this thing, and you then say immediately yes. The PC says at the top of the next page, when tomorrow we have to move in, if today we don't find cooperation with these people, we need to move in such that we kill it. Because we need to protect a situation where any Jack and Jay from a political angle, and then it tailors off. You see that?
Yes.
Then if we look at page 33, halfway down the page, you say the following. So I agree with you, Commissioner, if we can arrest this thing tomorrow, because the longer it goes, it's giving all the other opportunists to comment and seize the opportunity, and then it gets out of control. The PC says that's it. You then say, so I think, yes, let tomorrow be the D-Day, where we issue the ultimatum and say, if you don't show up for work, sorry, that's it. So we'll go tonight, go and print all those brochures in the languages that we want to use our choppers tomorrow, drop them around at all the strategic places. And then finally, if you can go to page 35, the Provincial Commissioner says, about a third of the way down the page, I just need to read halfway through that paragraph. She says, so I think, but also I think the plan gels nicely. I support the idea that they must be given the notice tonight rather...
Not be given.
Sorry, not be given the notice tonight, rather in the early hours of tomorrow, so that it works together with our plan. So essentially, reading all of this together, you are agreeing with General Mbombo that what must happen is that ultimatums must be issued to the workers early the following morning, and if they don't adhere or obey the ultimatum and go back to work, the police will act on that day, on Wednesday, the 15th of August, correct? That's what you agreed with her?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes.
And if we can go then quickly to the transcript of the meeting that you had with General Mbombo the next day, so on Wednesday, the 15th of August. I just need to find the reference. It's page 122 of the bundle. Now, this is a meeting with General that's being chaired by General Mbembe, with yourself and the two unions. You say at line 17, sorry, General, it's not a question and answer session. Let me just remind everybody. We have asked the police to hold on their plans to execute. For in an interview this morning, 2 presidents committing to come here. That zone is classified as a security zone. It is in the hands of the police. And then on the next page, you say, it is not Lonmin, so Lonmin has absolutely nothing to do. Meaning you and us, so sitting here arguing will not help. We need to say to the man, we are failing to give you the chance to go and resolve the problem. Now activate. Now, as I understand this, Mokwena, you're saying...
Sorry, I lost track of the pages and where you are reading.
So 122 and 123.
Oh, 122.
Bottom of 122 and the top of 123. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Mokwena, as I understand it, you're saying here, firstly, you're saying that what's implicit is that, well, as you've just confirmed, the police action was to, in fact, have happened on the Wednesday. But because the 2 union presidents agreed at the SAFM debate to go to Lonmin and address the strikers, you have asked the police to hold off for the Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes, because we wanted to give this a chance.
And what you're also saying is that there isn't really a role for Lonmin to play here. Well, you say, so Lonmin has absolutely nothing to do. It's really for the presidents to address the workers and see if they can sort the thing out. And if they can't, you'll tell the police to activate their plan. Correct?
Yeah. Okay. This is what General Spamber's position in that meeting was. He was saying he wants the 3 of us, the 3 parties, to find a way to get the workers to leave the copy, disarm, and go back to work. And he said them as police cannot negotiate industrial relations issues. So the understanding in that meeting was the 2 parties would go to the mountain and deliver 3 messages that were all agreed upon. 1, to tell the workers to disarm, leave their weapons there, to disperse, and go back to work. Those were the 3 messages conveyed by General Mpembe in that meeting. And I understood him to be saying it's not his job to be involved in industrial relations negotiations. His job is to maintain public peace and for the people to disarm and disperse the copy. That's the context of that meeting.
Yes, I understand that, Mokwena, but we're not, Mr. Mokwena, but we're not talking about what General Mpembe said. We're talking about what you said, because at the top of page 123, it's you speaking. And what you are saying there is, because there's a bit of an argument, and you interrupt and say, no, this is not a question and answer session. What you are saying there is if the presidents can't sort this out in some way, the police must activate the plan.
Yes. Now, what was going on was, suddenly there was an argument between Mr. Matunjwa and Mr. Zokwana. And what I was appealing to them was, gentlemen, please let's not waste time by arguing amongst ourselves. Let's go do the job that we've been asked to do. Because if we don't do that, obviously the police must do their job, which is public safety, on the copy. That is the purpose of the statement, or what actually I meant.
If we could look at page 171 of your supplementary statement. In paragraph 7.1, you say the following. Early in the morning of the 16th of August, I was at LPD when my team, Khotle and Kwadi, provided me with feedback that Matunjwa had not delivered on the agreed script set by General Mpembe on the 16th of August, namely that Matunjwa was supposed to call upon the strikers to disarm, disperse and return to work. My team also informed me that Zukwana had been shunned by the strikers. I felt very hurt, disappointed and betrayed by Matunjwa. Now, first of all, we don't, in the transcript of the meeting with General Mpembe, we don't see this very specific and particular and agreed script that you refer to. There's no such thing in the transcript. And Mr. Mpembe also didn't give evidence that there was such a script.
I sat in that meeting and walk out of that meeting with clarity that the workers should disarm, should disperse and go back to work. That's what came out of that meeting, and that's what I understood. I did not understand any other thing that came out of that meeting. So I left the meeting with that clarity in my mind that the two gentlemen would have gone to the copy to tell the workers, please disperse, leave your arms, and go back to work. That was what I understood.
Now, of course, you weren't at the place where the presidents addressed the strikers. You weren't present when they did that on the 15th.
No, I was not.
You received a report back about what happened.
Yes.
And you were told that Mr. Matunjwa had not delivered had not said to workers that they should go back to work. Is that what you were told?
Yes.
Mr. Matunjwa's evidence is that he did tell the workers to go back to work. But I'd like to refer you also to a document that appears in Exhibit Quadruple V1, page 62.
Chair, in response to what you just said, I know there was a video clip that has been played. I've not seen it when Mr. Matunjwa appeared at the copy, and I therefore cannot confirm what you are saying. I know that there was a clip played at the commission when he appeared at the copy, and if I see that, I'll be able to tell whether those three messages were delivered. So
really, for all you know, he may have conveyed the messages. You can't say. Is that your evidence? Could you answer the question, please?
Sir?
Is your evidence that for all you know, he could have conveyed the message, the script? You can't say.
Yeah, I had my managers who are debriefing me and telling me what had happened. So,
if we could just quickly have Quadruple V1, page 62 on the screen, please. This is from Mr. Henry Blow. It's an email, and this is his report about what happened in that session where the presidents addressed the strikers. If you could go down towards the bottom of the page. As you'll see in paragraph C at the bottom of the page, Mr. Blow says, the UMCU have denounced violence and have requested that the people on the hill go to work from tomorrow. The dangerous weapons must be left at the hill with SAPs to collect them. See that?
yes.
So that's what Mr. Blow understood to have happened. You didn't receive that report, presumably.
If you scroll up, I'll be able to tell whether I was... No, it doesn't look like I was copied on this.
I mean, as far as you know, was Mr. Blow in the Nyala? There was a negotiation in Nyala, remember? Mr. Kwana was in it for a while, and then Mr. Matunjwa was. There was a Lonmin representative, as I understand it, in the Nyala. Is that correct? Am I right? And was Mr. Blow the representative?
Mr. Blow was security, so obviously he would have been there. I don't know who else, Chair.
Mr. Sinclair was too. But anyway, the point is Mr. Blow would have known what he was talking about in this email.
Yes.
The email, though, seems to make reference to what happened at the meeting and not what happened in the copy. If you just go through the email, it says, context, as you know, this afternoon's meeting with the trade unions resolved as follows.
Yeah, but then go on this evening's outcome.
This
We had
evening's
two
outcome,
briefing
yeah.
sessions.
But it doesn't, we had two briefing sessions, but it doesn't seem to make, as I'm reading, it doesn't seem to me to make reference to what was said at the copy itself, but it was what was dealt with at the meeting and what was dealt with at the briefing.
Well, except that it says, Chair, have requested that the people on the Hill go to work from tomorrow.
All
that
I'm saying
request-
is that it's a recordal of what happens at the meeting and what happens at the briefing. It doesn't seem to purport to make reference to what was actually stated or what he says was stated at the
Yeah,
copy
well, he
itself.
sent it at 8:53 p.m., and he does use the past tense.
Yeah.
AMCU have denounced violence and have requested that the people on the Hill go to work from tomorrow.
But he
And it
says we had two briefing sessions,
was- no, I understand that.
and that's what he's referring to.
Well, that's his A, but then that's his A, then he goes down to B, B and then C. But anyway, it's a matter for argument. I think.
It's a matter for interpretation.
Yeah. Is there any more in the email? Can we just see? I would have thought that E may have put it beyond doubt. It was mentioned that tonight will be the last night on the Hill. As such, they've instructed workers to return back to work. The evidence was that when Matunjwa came back to the jock, he actually said to the police, leave them alone tonight. This will be their last night. But anyway, we don't have to waste Ms. Barnes' time in discussing it now. The matter can be addressed in argument.
Just my final, all I want to say is that would seem to support the suggestion that what they were referring to there was at the briefing, rather than what actually happened in the copy.
Ms. Barnes will deal with that in argument, I think. Ms. Barnes?
Yes, Chair. I see it is almost 1 o'clock. I think that my time is up.
I don't know if that's correct, but let's see whether my calculations coincide with Mr. Wesley's. What's the story, Mr. Wesley? How much longer?
Chair, Ms. Barnes has approximately 10 minutes left.
Yes. Well, you want to use them after lunch, 1:30.
Yes, Chair, I would. Thank you.
Perhaps I must announce at this stage that we've decided to start tomorrow at 8:30 and to take half an hour for lunch and to go until 4:15. So that means we're sitting for what amounts in total to an extra hour. That's just for the benefit of the parties, so they can all be here at 8:30. But anyway, you've got 10 minutes left, but you'll use that after lunch. Now, Joan. Till 1:30.
Heidi.